In this 6-video series we will cover why you should pick a certain class, and I will help you to figure out today if the Barbarian fits your playstyle. So in general, the Barbarian is best described as a combination of Conan from the old movies and Chuck Norris. He will slay your ass in no time if you don't be careful. The Barbarian is a special kind of dude, carrying more weapons than he can actually count to, so his strength is definitely damage and not math. The Barbarian has a set of 4 basic skills that allow him to generate resources, and the resource of the Barbarian is called Fury. So basically, the more mad he gets, the more damage he deals. A popular basic skill is Landing Strike, which especially in the early game will allow you to move fairly quickly through the map and get those important gap closes as a melee fighter. The Barbarian's class speciality is the Arsenal, which already unlocks at level 5 and allows the Barbarian to gain experience based on which weapon he uses to kill enemies. The weapons of his choice are quite wide, so he can use one-handed axes, one-handed maces, one-handed swords, but also use two-handed axes, pole arms, two-handed swords, and finally the last one, two-handed maces. So it's important to note that it's similar to the Rook, that the Barbarian has skills that can only be executed with a special weapon type, but then he switches between those weapons automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. You will also equip all of those weapons in your inventory, and you will get the effects, the legendary effects of all of them. And then on top, in the arsenal, all weapon types, they can be leveled up all the way up to level 10. So while you're leveling it up, you will already get a bonus. If you reach the max level, you will also get an additional effect for this weapon. And those bonuses are all passives. And you can even expand this a bit further, because at level 15 you can unlock the technique slot. And this will allow you to choose a certain weapon type to boost your stats on this even further. Next in the skill tree, we will find the 6 core skills. Just to mention 2 popular ones from the beta, there was the Whirlwind, which allowed the Barb to spin to win, and also proved that he's not one of those guys puking on the roller coaster. Next up, we had the Upheaval, which allowed for massive bursts, even going so far to one-shot elites, and I think it's currently even the highest single burst skill that was available so far. Those are then followed by defensive skills, and this is also a point where one of the big strengths of the Barbarian comes to light. You will gain access to the first shouts here, and those are buffs that are not just limited to yourself, they benefit the whole team. So you buff, you cry, and all of your team gets the power. One example is the Rallying Cry, that not only increases your movement speed a lot, it also helps you massively with generating your fury. In the next section of the skill tree, we find the Brawling skills, which basically unlocks your movement options, like for example Charge, that can work as a gap closer, allowing you to storm onto enemies and CCing them. And then we have Leap, that's like your oh shit button. If you ever overestimate your tankiness while you're fighting the hordes, just press it and jump to safety and reposition yourself easily. These are then followed by the Weapon Mastery skills, which allow for a nice different playstyle. Let's make an example based on the Death Blow that allows you to reset the full cooldown if you manage to kill an enemy with the skill. So if you like dunking, this is definitely the skill for you. And this only gets topped by the ultimate skills, which are really powerful, but on the other hand also have extremely long cooldowns. Here you can, for example, call for help if you're tired from all the barb things. The skill Call for the Ancients will summon 3 powerful long fallen barbs from the past that also have unique skills to them, and they can aid you during the battle. Then the tree ends in 4 different key passives that are good indicators for new players, as an example, to determine in which direction a working build can go. Outstanding is the Unbridled Rage, which increases the damage of core skills by an astonishing 135%, but on the other side also increasing the casting costs, so we have to choose wisely with this one. But this, of course, we've already talked about that Upheaval was one of the strongest skills. And imagine that you can get this multiplier on top of it as well. So holy shit, you can build up probably some stacking to get one-shots going. Another interesting one is the Unconstrained, which doubles the duration of berserking, maybe allowing for perma-berserking builds to benefit from the 25% damage multiplier and the 15% movement speed. Now let's sum up what we just heard and bring it together into the strengths and weaknesses of the Barbarian. The Barbarian is probably the class that's the best suitable for team play, as its shouts give massive boosts to the whole party. As he doesn't have really high range jump skills, he makes up for it with the insane amount of movement speed he can gather. The exception to this is the leap. The leap, though, does not have a lot of range. It allows you to reposition, you can get a stun with it going, stuff like this, but it's not like as far, for example, as the teleport on a mage. And this fact, alongside with his tankiness, makes him a real good mix of high AoE damage, but also having access to high single target DPS, like we have talked about with the appeal, and he, for some reason, is still a tank. So yeah, you basically got everything you have wished for in one class combined, except range. But of course, the buff also has a couple weaknesses, even if he doesn't like to admit it. It's by far the most heavily resource-dependent class with the worst resource generators. And on top of this, he has really long cooldowns. So you need to manage your cooldowns and you need to manage resources really well. Another thing to consider is he has literally no range spells at all. So you're always full melee, you need to have great positioning. There's a couple gap closers like lunging strike, charge, but in the late game, those skills seem currently better in the early game than in the late game. So be a bit creative when you do go into the build creation. And now that we've already talked about the early game, the Barbarian has by far the weakest early game out of all classes. But on the other hand, probably the highest endgame scaling. So if you're looking for an endgame beast, this is definitely why you should pick Barbarian. So overall, I would say the weaknesses of the Barbarian are definitely handleable, and if played to perfection, you will enjoy the most versatile class of Diablo 4 and a true weapon lover. And now to my final recommendations. I personally think that Barbarians are for players that like to play melee classes, or they played Garen as a one-trick in League of Legends and they are just into spin to win. If you're a team player and don't mind going tanky support, Barbarian is also a great choice for you. And of course, we also have to mention that if you like weapons and spend most of your days on the shooting range, there is no way you will not play Barbarian that has access to so many different weapons and of course can use the legendary effects of all of them. If you have any more questions about the Barbarian, let me know in the comments. I will always answer everything in less than 24 hours, and if you want to discuss your choice of builds, I highly recommend joining my Discord server to meet like-minded people. And the last thing before this video ends, on the 4th of June, when I'm coming home from my vacation, I will start live streaming daily on Twitch with a unique concept. We will play hardcore only, and if I die, this will trigger a community event for all of you, where the loyal viewers can earn nice rewards out of the cash shop. So you can win skins, mounts, battle passes, for example. So don't forget to subscribe and follow to not miss out. Cheers!